Hello and welcome to Geometry. I'm your host today. My name is Mr. Rowell. It's so good to see you. Today we got section 7.5 where we're talking about trig ratios. In this section we are going to begin our study of the right triangle trigonometry. Throughout this study we will identify three trigonometric ratios. Today we will be talking about sine, tangent, and cosine ratios. From now on we can use the abbreviation trigonometry. We will use trig. So the trig ratios are comparisons of sides of a right triangle. So we need to talk about the different sides of a right triangle, the different parts. And to do that, we always talk about it in relation to the angle. So I'll call this angle theta. And I will call this one the side opposite. This is going to be the opposite side. That is because it's furthest away from the angle. The side that is closer to it, or instead of side I should say leg, we also have the adjacent leg, and that is the one that is touching the angle. It's part of the angle. And then of course we have the hypotenuse. And what's important to note is I could draw the same triangle again, and when I draw that triangle I could be talking about this angle up here, and that changes the sides. Now this side down here becomes the opposite leg, while this one is the adjacent leg. And the one side that always stays the same is the hypotenuse, and that's the one that's always across from the 90-degree angle. So we have three ratios, like I said. The first one that deals with the angle ratio of the length of the opposite side over the length of the adjacent side, that is tangent. And then we have the opposite side over the hypotenuse, that is sine. And the last one we have adjacent over hypotenuse, which is cosine. Cosine. So if you need some help remembering, I have this mnemonic device called SOHCAHTOA. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So that's where the so comes from, opposite over hypotenuse. And next we have cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent over hypotenuse. And then we have TOA, which would be tangent, which is opposite over adjacent. So some examples here. I just want to talk about how we would find the sine, cosine, and tangent of each one of these. So let's go ahead and look at an example. Let's say if I had this angle x now down here, I'm going to call this side 3, this side 4, and this side 5 in a right triangle. So the sine of angle x is going to be equal to 3 over 5 because it's opposite over adjacent. Next I have cosine of x, and that is going to be equal to 4 over 5, and that's because I have adjacent over hypotenuse. And finally, tangent, my opposite over adjacent, would be 3 over 4. Now I could call this other angle something else, like I could call this angle y. And what I would get when I would get y is, sine of y would be, now my opposite is 4, my hypotenuse is 5. Cosine of y would be 3 over 5, and my tangent is equal to tangent of y. You always got to put the angle that you're talking about. Tangent of y would be 4 over 3. So there you have it, our first lesson on trig.